In today's video, we're gonna go over each service, landscaping or lawn care, go over the pros and cons, and really give you the information you need to help you decide what is it that you want. Do you want a mowing business? Do you want a landscape business? If you're just starting right now, or maybe if you're currently already in business and you're like, trying to figure out what is the next best thing. Maybe it's becoming niche and doing one or the other. This video will help you decide this. This video will tell you the pros, the cons, and then finally at the end, kind of give you my consensus of what I think, what I would do, what I have done in my businesses that have really helped us grow and help us accelerate our business. So let's get right into it and start off with mowing. Mowing is something that we started our business with. We really got out the door just push mowing lawns like I'm sure so many other people did. It gets you going with something easy that doesn't cost a whole lot to get into. It's not super expensive, but some of the pros that stick out to me in mowing are it's extremely repeatable. It's the same thing over and over and over again. So it's much easier to create systems on this and move forward with this service. Just like it is very easily scalable. Another huge point. That doesn't mean it's going to explode and you're gonna have 1,000 lawns overnight, but it is very easy since it's repeatable. It's very easy to scale and continue adding to it because the management is just not there like it is in landscaping. So this is what makes it beautiful, a beautiful thing to scale, a beautiful thing to grow because of how repeatable and scalable it is. It adds value to your company, meaning it's a reoccurring revenue stream. So since it's always going to be happening year after year after year, if you ever go to sell your company, and all of the best companies are built with the intention to sell, not meaning you should sell, but if you do sell your company, that you have maximized the value of the asset that is your company. So if you have reoccurring revenue, it's going to drive up the value of your company much more than if all you do is a hunt, kill, eat, hunt, kill, eat service like landscaping. You always have to go find the next job. On mowing, your book builds and builds and builds and builds, and maintenance in general. So this could be mowing and spraying, whatever that is, some kind of reoccurring service that builds indefinitely. And finally on the pros, and I'm sure there's a million more for people who are just mowing enthusiasts. I'm a business enthusiast. I look into things that ease business and are best for the business much more than I just look for, hey, I love this service and that's why I want to do it. But finally, it's recession resistant, meaning that the ticket price is much smaller and a lot of these people don't want to take care of their lawns, and that's going to make it where they can't maybe hang out with their kids as much or make it harder for them to do their day job where they make a ton more than what they pay you to go mow the lawn. This is something that typically continues if there is a recession, where landscaping project, big ticket stuff, a lot more thought goes into that. That may be the first thing that you start to see sales slowing down on projects, things slowing down on the landscaping side because you're moving into something like a recession. That's something that's a very valid point right now because maybe whether they say we're in one or not, we're in the middle of one. How has business been acting for you? If you're new, maybe it's something to think about. Hey, this is a hedge against issues like what's going on right now, because there's still plenty of work to be found. There's still plenty of things to do. Whatever it is, whatever side, I don't fall much into the you're not gonna sell anything because of recession, but I do know that it is recession resistant, especially depending on the clientele you build. If you build clientele that's worried about every cent, they're gonna fall off no matter what they are when a recession hits. If you build clientele that values their time over $1 because they know what they can produce with their time outside of spending that $1, they're gonna probably stick with you either way. Now let's get into the cons of this service. What are the cons of mowing? Number one, it can be much harder to fill a schedule. So if you're starting your business and you're trying to get going and you're like, okay, where am I gonna get the lawns? Where am I gonna get the lawns to get things started? It is much harder to fill a week's worth of work selling it one little lawn at a time, selling it in 30-minute increments, 20-minute increments, hour increments. That's one of the biggest downsides for me on mowing, is that it can be so hard to fill a schedule. And this can be very frustrating when you first get started. It's not as high profit as landscaping. Now, There's a lot of variables in landscaping. That's gonna be one of the cons that we talk about a little bit more in the future of this video, but it's not as high profit. We don't make as much money when we go out and mow. And so that is kind of a turnoff for me, but we're much more probably consistent with the profit we do make when we're mowing because it is so repeatable. But if you're looking for just the ultimate number, the bigger number, it's not gonna be from mowing on the profit side. Here's the caveat. There are gonna be people that do niche services that charge extremely high rates and they do much better on it than your average person or even the person that's above average. I feel like our company is much above average, but even though we're above average, landscaping still does better. There's going to be companies that have harmonized their mowing services and figured out the one-man team and the most profitable way to run it, where maybe their teams even outproduce landscaping and outproduce it on a profit-wise number. So there's always caveats to all this. It isn't just one way fits all, but most often, landscaping is gonna be higher profit and mowing is gonna be lower profit. That's a big con of mowing for me. And finally, it takes time. Just like at first, it takes time to fill your schedule. Even after you fill your schedule, it takes time to build route density. And what does that mean if you're new to the game or even if you're old to the game and you don't know what route density is? It means that instead of going here and doing a lawn and then driving 20 minutes to the other side of town and driving 20 minutes to the next one, you've filled in that route so the gap between property after property after property gets smaller. And density really in a lot of areas isn't going to come in until you get hundreds of lawns, and then it continues getting better forever. So the density itself can be a deteriorating thing of a lot of your profit. So it takes time to get that. I don't like that it takes time to get that, because on the flip side, a landscaping project, I can charge for my time going to every property. If it takes an hour to get there, we'll bill an hour. We've had properties that were an hour away from our shop where it was gonna be a 7-day project with multiple people, and we bill all the hours to get to that project into that project, and it's accounted for. So mowing, route density, getting built, it takes time. Another downside of mowing, but all in all, love the service. It's a repeatable thing. There's ups with it, there's downs with it, just like anything else. Now it's time to talk about landscaping. So what are some of the pros of landscaping? Let's start off with one of the things I didn't like about lawn care. It is a high profit service. It is something, especially if you simplify it, especially if you don't try to do everything under the sun, you can make a lot of money on, and you can do it really, really fast. Also, you can fill up a schedule extremely fast. A lot of these things are the offset of what the lawn care was. You can fill up a schedule extremely fast because each job I sell, even if it's a $1,000 job, well, that would take maybe 10 lawns to be $1,000. I don't know what the number is. I don't know what the average is in your area, but instead of having to go out and sell 10 lawns, I sell one person a project. Or maybe that project is $8,000, $10,000, $15,000 project. And as you progress in landscaping, you're gonna realize that selling a bigger project at $10,000, at $20,000, at $30,000, it's not really that hard. It is just intimidating when you first start to sell something that big. But once you realize it's not hard to sell bigger projects, and as you learn and keep things easy, you can sell more and more of them, you'll realize how quickly it can fill up your time, and it can fill up and allow you to hire more people and build your business. Now, something else I believe that I think others are going to be kind of contradictory on this is you don't really need much equipment to start landscaping. Where mowing, I feel like you need a mower, you need a blower, you need a string trimmer, you need all of this stuff. If you really truly want to go landscape, you can get some wheelbarrows. I mean, either of the services, you're probably going to want a truck. I guess you could have a car that pulls a little trailer, but you could have a truck and you could have some wheelbarrows and you could get started landscaping. That's not going to be fancy, but it's going to get you started. You're not going to make as good of money as you do when you have the appropriate equipment, but it will get you moving forward. Every time I look at a mowing service and I look at what that's going to take, yeah, you can start off with cheap mowers. Yeah, you can start off with less, but a lot of times you can only cut so many corners on that. And a lot of the things you do need, and what's definitely gonna, you start mowing 50, 60, 100 lawns a week, you're gonna need commercial equipment. It's gonna be more expensive. It's gonna be the right thing to buy because it's gonna last you longer, but that's just not as cheap to get into as a couple wheelbarrows and some rakes, and we're off landscaping. We can go buy mulch, we can spread rock, we can do so much, and maybe we just have to have deliveries or have somebody haul it away and have dumpsters come to site, but we don't have anything that we actually have to have as a hard asset. I said that wrong, I guess. Not that we don't have to have anything, but we don't have to have much to get started and get rocking and rolling. I also love that landscaping has always been a funder of the growth of our business. Mowing for us has always been a consistent thing, but landscaping has been the true thing that poured money into the coffers of our business and allowed us to scale, allowed us to grow, allowed us to do more faster. For a lot of the reasons I already said, you're able to fill up more schedules quicker, you're able to sell a lot of it quickly, and you're able to just build out a schedule and keep you rocking and rolling. And so if you're just starting off, or if you're needing to expand and you want to push and to add more and more of that service, it's going to help fund the things you want to do. Obviously, just like all services, we have to really, really work hard to be profitable. But if you are profitable, if you do the work right, it's going to be a funder of the business. It's going to bring a lot of cash into the business, and it's going to allow you to do cool things in your business. Now for some of the cons of landscaping. On the flip side to what we said on mowing, it is not as recession resistant. We already kind of explained this. You know, if something's gonna come up, the big bougie project that somebody's wanting to do is probably gonna be the first thing that they say, you know what, do I need to spend 30 grand on that? I'm gonna hold back because shit's kind of hitting the fan and I just don't know what I'm gonna do right now. So not as recession resistant, but do I think that you can sell a ton of it even when times are tough? Yes, there's always work getting done. The biggest thing you can do to insulate yourself from that is make sure your company is well known. But that's gonna be hard to do right from the beginning. But still, more power to you. You can be known, you can be loud, you can be proud, grow your company, whatever way you decide. Besides that, it's harder to scale, which that's not as exciting, but it's the truth. There's two things. It's harder to scale and it requires a lot of management, and it's harder to scale because it requires a lot of management. There's people that have to sell each one of these jobs. Then the salesperson or production people, and maybe if you're starting off, that's probably all you, and you're probably the person doing the install. You've got to make sure that this job goes right. Management becomes harder as you start sending other people out to complete these projects. And since you have to have so much management in landscaping, from the person selling to the person managing the client to the upsells to the things to make sure all the material gets there and it's all coordinated well, it's much harder than the repeatable service, which is mowing, to scale and grow. So that is one of the challenges, that's one of the cons of it, and it can be one of the frustrations that people get a crew going and then they feel like they always have to be there and they're not looking for the things that they can do so they don't need to be there as much. But it's very easy to get into that rut of thinking, man, this is a nightmare, I cannot scale this. It's giving me nothing but problems. I wish I would have rather just done maintenance. And finally, this is one of the ones that you better buckle up for, because if you get into landscaping, this is gonna happen. There are much bigger opportunities to lose a shit ton of money. One of the biggest projects to date, I would say in billable hours, we lost roughly $40,000 on it. And you know, no one feels this besides the person actually looking at the numbers, because the employees think we're busy, things are looking great in the company, and you're the owner sweating bullets because you got your guts out there on the line and all you're doing is bleeding time. And lessons like that are gonna be painful to endure, but they're going to teach you so much about how strictly you should be watching the numbers and the hours and the job costing and all of the things, but that all goes back to a ton of management. So a lot of opportunities because of all of the variables in landscaping. You're not just going to a lawn, mow, weed, eat, trim, blow off, mow, weed, eat, trim, blow off. You are running into an excavation problem. You're running into an irrigation problem. You're running into an electrical problem. You're running into a supply problem. You're running into all kinds of things. And you have to be prepared to navigate those. And that's why on landscaping, you start small, you can scale it up really quick, but you just keep stacking small projects on top of small projects, and inevitably you learn a big project is a bunch of small projects put together. Now, for the consensus, what do I really think about, and maybe you don't care what I think, but I'm hoping you've stayed this long. Leave a comment if you've stayed this long to hear what I think. I think that you should have both. I think that landscaping will fund your business and allow you to grow faster, and I think that mowing will give you a multitude of good aspects to your company, adds value, is more recession proof, is reoccurring revenue that you can count on being there, that you can go out and potentially borrow against the fact that your business is going to have this amount of revenue coming in as a receivable all of the time into your company. But with that being said, you need to keep it simple. I learned when I first started a company that offered every service under the sun to stay busy, to grow revenue, to do more, to have more, to get bigger. And unfortunately, that was fun. It allowed for growth, but it made it harder to make a profit. So keeping it simple is everything if you do this. So if you're gonna mow and you're gonna do landscaping, don't do pavers and retaining walls and rock and curbing and pressure washing and concrete and decks and everything under the sun. I mean, yes, you could sub it. Yes, you could manage it. I'm not saying that you couldn't figure out a way to do more, but I'm saying that if you're going to get into this and you're going to do both, my biggest success has been simplifying what we offer on the landscaping so it's extremely repeatable. We tried to make landscaping as much like mowing, so when people go out, they just go out and knock it out and go out and knock it out and go out and knock it out and do the same thing over and over and over and over again, even though there's more variables. So keeping it simple is going to allow you to win more. And as mentioned, landscaping is going to allow you to add team members faster, grow your company faster, fill your company with revenue coming into it, grow your revenues faster, which I know revenue is for vanity and profit is for sanity. And I know that you have to market aggressively to grow that landscaping side. And I know that takes guts and that takes risks. But if you want to grow your company fast, you're going to grow a lot faster through the addition of landscaping and selling projects versus selling one residential homeowner at a time. Obviously, there's caveats. If you're selling huge commercial projects, which could be $1 million, $2 million a year, yes, you're going to be able to sell few and get big numbers. But this brings in constant revenue where you don't have a huge outlay and you're able to really hone it down to where you're getting finished the second you walk off of a project, and now there's a lot of money coming in the door, really helping the cash flow of your business through things like making sure you're getting paid when you're finished, taking draws along the way, and taking deposits so you're able to fund the project as you go and you're able to pay for everything as you're doing the project. You just have to watch the project and make sure it goes well. So in conclusion, again, landscaping and mowing is, for me, the best option. Do I think one or the other is better? No. I think that they're both awesome services. I think that either one could be successful. You could have a large landscaping company, design install. You could have a large mowing company. You can have a mix of both. For me, the mix allows for, if it's a startup, it allows for you to build volume quicker and keep the best of both things, with the last little gold nugget that if you have a bunch of landscaping going on, you don't have to fight for mowing. You don't have to charge nothing for mowing or charge lower because you're trying to be competitive. You can leave your prices high, you can go out and make your revenue on landscaping, and because your prices are high, you're gonna get grade A mowing customers that aren't a pain in your ass because they appreciate the value of what you're offering or willing to pay for it, versus the person that's like, can I get a discount? Can I get it for less? Unfortunately, the person that always wants it for less in any service industry is the person that will also ask the most out of you because they don't see the value of their time. They see all that value in that dollar they are giving you. So then they are trying to just pull more value out of every cent that they give away instead of it being a value exchange. It's huge, whole different thing that we're not even gonna get into right now. So if this video has helped you realize, I want to go one way or the other, I want to do both, oh shit, I should keep landscaping simple, I've added too many services. If it's helped you in any of those ways, make sure you like this video, make sure you share it with someone else that can help them grow their company, and make sure you subscribe to the channel and let us know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to you soon. Go grow.